Is Canada the solution to Brexit?
Mr. Barnier was, as you would expect, extraordinarily charming and well informed, and he and I found we were in considerable degree of agreement that Chequers is absolute rubbish, and that we should chuck it, and what we should have is a Canada-style free trade deal. I mean, he seemed to think that was the way forward and has published charts showing that. So, interestingly, Eurosceptics and Mr. Barnier are in greater agreement than Eurosceptics and the government or Mr. Barnier and the government. This is very encouraging.
So Jacob Rees-Mogg has said recently he would prefer to see a Canada-style deal to the European Union than the Chequers deal proposes. But what is a Canada deal, and what benefit is it to us? Well, Canada has a deal with the European Union that removes 99% of customs and duties from European exports. After 7 years, all of those tariffs on industrial products disappear completely, and a large bulk of tariffs on agricultural goods will also be removed. EU companies can bid for contracts in Canada, and Canada does not have to pay into the EU, or accept free movement of people, or abide by EU law. Sounds perfect, right? However, there are hundreds of exceptions listed under this deal. Of course, if the UK got this kind of deal, it would mean that we get tariff-free access to the EU. It's already made with Canada, meaning no negotiating needed. It's a deal, at least, which is better than a no deal in most of the public's mind. And it's less expensive. Canada doesn't have to pay into the EU, and means being less under the jurisdiction of the ECJ than the Chequers deal proposed. But it's worth remembering that Canada has never actually been part of the European Union. It doesn't solve the problem of Northern Ireland. Canada is on a completely different continent, and Canada has a close trading relationship with the US. Canada also has a completely different economy. Our economy already relies on the integration with the European Union. Any deal would also struggle to get through Parliament. Just because we come up with a new deal to the Chequers deal doesn't mean it's automatically going to get through Parliament. And it doesn't solve the problem of Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland wants to be part of the UK. The UK wants to be outside the customs union and single market. But that free border with Ireland and the Republic of Ireland is a huge issue for Brexit. Jacob Rees-Mogg did come up with a solution regarding the Irish border.
The blue tunnel, that there would be our ability, as we had during the Troubles, to have people inspected, that it's not a border that everyone has to go through every day. But of course, for security reasons during the Troubles, we kept a very close eye on the border to try and stop gun running and things like that. It's not inconsistent to have a border that people can pass through, but you're keeping an eye on.
He wants people inspected at the Irish border as they were during the Troubles. He also wants more of a Lancaster House vision of Brexit.
I can confirm today that the government will put the final deal that is agreed between the UK and the EU to a vote in both Houses of Parliament before it comes into force. I want to be clear. What I am proposing cannot mean membership of the single market. As a priority, we will pursue a bold and ambitious free trade agreement with the European Union. This agreement should allow for the freest possible trade in goods and services between Britain and the EU's member states. The purpose is clear. We will seek to avoid a disruptive cliff edge, and we will do everything we can to phase in the new arrangements we require as Britain and the EU move towards our new partnership.
Back then, Theresa May was proposing 12 separate things. Certainty on the type of deal we were going to get for the economy and clarity, control of our own laws from the ECJ, so the European Court of Justice no longer has jurisdiction over the UK. Instead, that jurisdiction is decided by parliaments in Scotland, England, Wales, and Northern Ireland. She wanted to strengthen the union of the UK so that Scotland didn't go independent, for example, or Northern Ireland. She wanted to maintain the common market. She didn't want to go in there and say, hey, we're going to destroy your European Union, therefore can we have a deal now? She was going to say, hey, look, we understand why you've got your European Union, but we want out. She wanted a travel area with Ireland. She wanted to control immigration. She wanted rights for EU nationals. She wanted to protect workers' rights so that none of the rights get thrown away once we leave the European Union. She wanted a free trade area with European markets, a bit like Canada. She wanted to be able to make new trade arrangements with countries outside the European Union. She wanted the UK to be the best place for science and innovation. She wanted to cooperate on crime and terrorism. And she wanted a smooth and orderly Brexit. However, since the Chequers Deal has been introduced, things like jurisdiction over the UK from the ECJ and a smooth and orderly Brexit has come into contention. We now seem more likely to pull a no deal than ever. But what do you think? Would a Canada deal be better for the UK than the Chequers deal? Or would you come up with a completely new deal? Let me know in the comments below, join in the debate and subscribe.